mentioned Russia and
Ukraine
Ukraine.
war, yes.
In fact, the new one is that they say Israel and Lebanon.
Yes, I mean,
Lazy. I mean, it's a lazy excuse. Which country in this world? Look, let's situate this thing. Even countries like Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali, even Togo, countries like Somalia,
yes,
several countries across this continent were all confronted with COVID.
yes, that
There's
is
a
a
saying
fact.
that leadership is cause, every other thing is effect.
Mhm.
Every other thing is effect. Other leaders across the world have been able to meander their way away from the adversity of COVID. How have we done that? President Akufo-Addo told us, remember, he was
Yes,
very categorical. He said that we do not know how to bring human lives
yes,
back. We can't give life to a human being, but we can give life to the economy. Do you remember that?
yes. He did. He did make that statement on national
And that
TV.
he knew how to meander us out of the turmoils of COVID. I'm not disappointed at the sorry state of the economy. That
Yeah,
after such a categorical statement by His Excellency the President of this country, the economy is this bad. Like I was making the point about one district, one town, one village, one constituency, all of that, which were bold proclamations by the president, which have all been a failure. Are you not disappointed about them?
I think that the president had good intentions, and he did what he could do with the resources that he had. For me, I think not to defend him or defend the political party. I believe that what happened, your party was in power, and after the period, Ghanaians believed at that time that things didn't go well, so decided to vote out your party, and they brought in another man thinking that he was the solution to our problems, and he has been in power for 8 years. We all have our views on the state of the economy. We all have our views on what has happened over the time, issues with certain, for lack of a better term, corrupt practices that has happened over the period. What I would like to know is that if your party is giving the nod this coming December, what would you do differently?
Great. Talking about resources, you alluded to the fact that the president could do what he could do in the context of the resources he has. I must state, as a matter of fact, that this government has received the highest ever in revenue than any other government.
That's a fact.
Not Nkrumah, not Buzia, not Rawlings, not Mills, not Kufuor, not Mahama received as much revenue as this President Akufo-Addo government has received. Remember how they depleted COVID funds and used it to fund the campaigns of their parliamentary candidate, which is a matter of fact. I'm saying this because it's a matter of fact. You remember, at the time the NDC was handing over, we did not even have access to the 10 oil fields. But under this MPP government, we started receiving extra revenue from these oil fields. They have received over 7 times more revenue than President Mahama received. So if in the abundance of these resources Mahama didn't have, Mills didn't have, Kufuor didn't have, they all didn't have, I don't think it's a justifiable or plausible reason to give. It's not. You can't use that as a basis to say you didn't. You did your best in the. That's so pathetic.
That is what they would tell us. That they've done, very well with some of the roads. We hear what they say. They believe that they've done the best with what they had, and we can respect that, but we don't have to agree. Or we can respect it to what they say.
You see, the thing is that the Ghanaian, Nkrumah said that never take the Ghanaian youth for granted. You may see us as sleeping now, as not very active now, but when we decide to rise, what is happening in Kenya will only be an example.
So what do you think the reason is for this particular government? You made mention of the fact that they've received 7 times more. My question is that, what do you think is happening to our monies?
No, the corruption is festering. Corruption is wanton. Everywhere there's corruption. Massive examples of corruption. Let me even just go down to the issue of the SML contract, which is one of the region. SML. We have the Ghana Revenue Authority, which is a product of statutes.
Yes.
The Ghana Revenue Authority has a responsibility to what? Collect taxes, gather revenue, and then deposit into the consolidated fund. That is their responsibility. There's a Commissioner General. There are other deputies of the Ghana Revenue Authority. Remember that?
Yeah.
There's a Minister of Finance with 3 deputies. 3 deputies. So 4 people plus commissioners and all of that have been given the responsibility on revenue generation for this country.
True.
But yet you institute something called SML by one man, the cousin of the president, Ken Oforiatta, unilaterally sets up or causes that a company called the SML is set up, and their mandate is to cause revenue assurance in the downstream sector of our oil, and that they see that the GRA is not collecting enough taxes, so they should go and make sure GRA is collecting enough taxes, and they are paid 24 million cedis a month. 24 million a month is how much they are paid to in the name of what is GRA doing? Remember, the president said that in defense of the number of ministers he had, he said he needed that number because that was the number he needs to be able to effectively prosecute the machinery of government. He said that.
Yes.
So if you have this bloated government with several people, and yet you can't perform your responsibilities like generating revenue, you go and outsource it and pay out 24 million a month.
So, in summary, what you're saying is that the reasons why we are where we are as a nation is corruption.
Too many leakages.
So we are unable to collect enough. Is what you're saying? Or when we collect, but
we have so much, and then we are depleting it. Aside the issue of even revenue that we have, there's also the import and export imbalance. There's a deficit of over 100 and something billion of how much we import against how much we export.
Yes.
We're importing way more than we are exporting. So if one district, one factory were working, if industries in Ghana were working, we would have been exporting more.
So then, Mr. Laar, if I get you right, you actually agreed with the manifesto of the MPP. You thought they were brilliant ideas. Is that what it is?
No, I'm not saying they were brilliant ideas.
Okay.
All I'm just saying is that if those ideas were effectively implemented, it would have been possible.
So would you say that, do you think that it's something that your party would like to implement? Since one district, one factory, all the nice things they said.
Different policy option on industrialization.
Okay.
We won't call it one district, one factory in the manner that the MPP is implementing, where they even go and brand companies like Casapreco, which has been in existence for years, and go and unveil Casapreco and say it's a product of one district, one factory. How disingenuous. The NDC doesn't believe in that. You remember, during President Mahama's time, the pharmaceutical industry in Ghana was on its knees. Tobinco, NS Chemist, data item drugs, several. There was an intervention. And today, Ghana's pharmaceutical industry is thriving. It's thriving. Of course, they are under the weight of the current economy.
Exactly.
But for President Mahama's intervention, they would have collapsed. So our version of industrialization is one that believes that the government will support you in ways that guarantee employment. Already, we are talking about 24-hour economy policy. Mm-hmm. That's another attempt at industrialization.
Could you throw more light on that since you are here?
Oh, yeah. Well,
since you are here and you mentioned it.
Yes, so our agenda on industrialization is essentially on the 24-hour economy policy. You look out for countries like London. Let's just not even the whole of UK, just London. The London economy has been boosted by over £4 billion. £4 billion because of the 24-hour economy that works in London. They don't sleep. Mm-hmm. Ghana has a massive unemployment ratio. I was just talking about the multidimensional poverty report that was released by the Ghana Statistical Service. In their assessment of what is multidimensional poverty, they mention education, healthcare, living conditions, and unemployment. Those are the 4 metrics they use. 4 metric. Mm-hmm. So that means that the issue of unemployment adds up to poverty. Definitely. That's why President Mahama says that no, we have several young people that are being churned out by the various universities and colleges of education, universities, nursing training, all of them. We must have a system where they get jobs. We don't believe in NAPCO and other sloganeering attempts at employment, where people will just come and get employed for a year or two and then they are off again. That's why the 24-hour economy is working. Now, look at Ekunfi juice. I'll use that as an example. Mm-hmm. You know Ekunfi juice?
Yes, I know Ekunfi juice.
It's such a nice, very nice juice.
Wonderful juice.
But very often than not, when you go out, you don't see Ekunfi juice. They tell you they're out of stock, waiting for the next batch of production. You know this one, Blue Skies?
Yes, Blue Skies.
Also not very available. Ghana's cultivation of pineapples, if all pineapples produced in Ghana were given to Blue Skies, it still won't be enough for Blue Skies to meet their extended market. That's a matter of, I know the manager, Mr. Alisa Jimati. Mm-hmm. I've taught Blue Skies, and these are matters of fact, because Blue Skies is now importing pineapples from Cote d'Ivoire and other parts of Africa to bring to Ghana to make juice. Now, that means that there's a market available for a Kofi and also for Blue Skies. If it is the case that Blue Skies is supported both with logistics, both with machinery, both with funding, such that they can cultivate, even outsource, support farmers to cultivate more pineapples, more oranges, more banana. Blue Skies would buy them. Workers are working 24/7, not just from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., 24/7. That means that from 5 p.m. to the next day, another batch of workers could have been employed to work.
So
and generate much more produce, which is available. The market is available. So President Mahama is saying that our economy can grow. People can work. We can produce more because there's a market available for what we can produce. So let us support industries to employ more, to manufacture more, and then create an enabling environment, a business climate that allows them to compete favorably. Today, the exchange rate is a very worrying thing for businesses.
I was going to come to that.
Very worrying thing. So you can't even compete very well with your external business partners because of the dollar rate against the cedi. Because $1 is about 15 cedis. When
Actually,
under
a
the
little
NDC
over
government,
that
it was
now,
$1 to 4 cedis. Even with that, they said President Mahama was not good enough. If at 4 cedis it wasn't good enough, I wonder what the people of Ghana are saying about $1 to 15 cedis. So President Mahama's intervention, when we talk about the 24-hour economy, is to ensure that industries are supported. We are talking about sanitation. They said Accra was going to be the cleanest city in Africa.
Yes. They didn't mention that. That was mentioned.
They said the cleanest city in Africa. President Mahama is saying that under the 24-hour economy, Accra will be clean 24 hours. That will be employment for people.
Are these not just promises, Mr. Laar?
The NDC
Because we hear
the NDC is on record to be the government that means what they say. When the
so
NDC,
we will hold you to it.
of course. When President Mahama said he was going to invest massively in infrastructure, people said it wasn't possible. Today we have the circle interchange. We have the several hospitals. You go to UGMC. Which hospital in this country is as efficient and conducive like the UGMC? Did anyone think President Mahama could do it? They said they doubted it. Today, UGMC is there. UGMC is there. Go to Pokwase, go to Dodowa. Several parts of this country, hospitals have been built. Schools have been built. Look at the E-blocks all across the length and breadth of this country. Built. Look at roads, the road networks. Built. Look at Kejetia Market. Built. President Mahama means what he says.
Yes, that is true. All the facts you mentioned are things that
even on corruption, President Mahama doesn't pamper corruption. He doesn't come and make a promise and say that, oh, under my government, if you want to make money, better go to the private sector. Don't come to my government. And yet, Brian Champon is buying hotels, Minister of State for Agric, buying 3 state hotels. And the president is quiet about that.
I don't think he's buying it as an individual.
The company.
He's a company.
But he's a beneficial owner.
Yes, but he's a beneficial owner from the company.
Let me give an example.
Are we saying that ministers of state cannot have businesses?
I know the authority of Salmon and Salmon is very much alive, where there is a separate entity and all of that. No doubts about that. But listen to this. Brian Champon has variously said that he has nothing to do with the running of Rock City. He's a non-executive director, has no say in what happens. You've heard him say that, haven't you?
I haven't heard him say that, but I think that I saw
read about stuff like that. Yes, he said that. I'm telling you, he said that. Now, a man who claims he has no hand in the affairs of Rock City as a corporate group, as a mother group, only 2 days ago, in an interview with Nana Yabrifu, said that if Mr. Blakwa, Samuel Okujida Blakwa, is able to prove that they have filed their 2023 tax returns or filings and all of that, he, Brian, would give Ablakwa his mansion at Trasacco.
Yes.
He doesn't stop there. He goes on to say that he would give him one of the hotels under the Rock City Group, Akosombo Intercontinental Hotel. A man who claims he has nothing to do with the business and that the running of the business is in the hands of other people can unilaterally make a decision and say, I'll give you one of the hotels.
Maybe it
speaks to the fact that he's a beneficial owner. Whatever happens with the business directly affects him positively.
If the
president meant that people in his government should not profit from the resources of this state as a means of making and go to the private sector, he should have fired Brian Champon by now.
On what basis would he fire
We know
Brian
the concept
Champon?
of the first right of refusal.
Exactly.
When our shareholders want to, let go some of our shares, you give other shareholders the first right to say, I'll take on the share or I'll not take on the share. That's what you have to do.
Yes.
The teacher in Bunkrugu, the nurse in Kwando, the judicial service worker in Cape Coast, who are contributors to the pension scheme, and are shareholders of SNIT, were they given that right?
Well, that's a different conversation altogether. I understand where you are coming from and where the points you are making are from. But I think that with the issue of Brian Achampong, that's just my view on the matter, that he is a minister of state, but he's also a business person. And I don't think there's, and he said that he's not...
And he's also a member of parliament.
Yes, he's not involved in the day-to-day running of Rock City. That's, I mean, I'm sure he has a board. There's a board, there are shareholders and all of that. So I think that the assessments will be done eventually. They will decide who they would, sell the hotels to. And the statements...
They said
yes,
to him.
The statements Honorable Ablakwa made has been denied by him. That
Ablakwa has proven it now.
Yes,
he's proven that they indeed filed their returns. But Brian is the one that has been untruthful to the people of this country.
So I mean, we these are conversations that for us we think that it is very political. It can get very deep on that. But I mean, I still insist that my concern is with your party. Where you stand now, because you are the ones that are going to contest. I mean, major opposition party.
President Mahama tweeted just 2 days ago, the opposition on this is public.
Yes.
Then this position is that the looting of state lands, state assets will be a thing of the past, and that to the extent of possibility and legality, we shall investigate the sale of state lands. President Mahama even met the Ghana Traditional Council, who have been treated unfairly by this government. Under the law of this country, if you acquire land, compulsory acquisition of land for the use of the government, for the state, and you no longer see the need to use it for the purpose for which you acquired the land, what you do is to return the land back to the allodial owner.
Yes.
But there are several state lands, that this government, rather than return back to the Ghana people whose lands were compulsorily taken by the state, they've sold it to their cronies. Is that legal?
Of course,
that right?
That is,
that's why the NDC's position is that we shall, to the extent that we will return them. Because you cannot just look down the people of the Ghana traditional area like that.
We would have to, verify some of if truly that was what was done.
If you have a production team, you can just check right now.
Yes, if that was what was done, then
you can check right
agree
now.
With you, yes.
Lands compulsorily acquired have not been returned to the allodial owners. Just do a simple Google
and
search.
They've been sold to.
They've been privatized. Look at DVLA. I'm giving specific examples. Go to the DVLA office now, where DVLA was, where all of these guru boys were. They have demolished all of those
structures. They are
structures.
relocating them to
In fact, there were police quarters there. There was a police station there with several bungalows for police people.
Yes, I know.
They've demolished all of those things and sold it off to private people.
So
is it not the case that if the government does not need land again, they return the land to the allodial owner? So why do you sell it to a private individual?
As the government said that they don't need the lands again.
But why do you sell it to a private person if you need it? If you needed it, you should have been building a hospital or a school, something for the enjoyment of the citizens of this country. But if you go and sell it to a private businessman who is coming to set up a hotel or set up some offices
to beautify Accra, like they said, they will make Accra a cleaner city, so they are trying to beautify and give
cleaning is not by buildings,
prime
it's
areas,
about the gutters all
prime
around.
areas, to
see,
maybe
let's not pamper this government. I think we're pampering them enough.
We are not trying to, we are just trying to understand where they are coming from, because as it stands, they will be in power to the end of December. They are still in power, so we need to understand where they are coming from and decide that, okay, as a nation, we either want to go this way or that way.
They'll be in power, but I think that we must rescue Ghana. And part of rescuing Ghana is to ensure that this government must be uprooted. Because if I tell you what's happening, the state capture. I heard a friend of mine once said that one day, someone whose relative or parent is in government and has had access to amass wealth would have the opportunity to have education, Yale University, Harvard, Columbia, Cambridge, and will come back to Ghana and say, you, Kofi, the son of the nobody, should not have a place in the policy of this country because you are the son of a nobody in this country. Let it not be said that people have amassed wealth and use that to perpetuate a certain generational monopoly over the resources of this country. Let it not be said. Because you, Kofi, you are meant to control billions as well. You are meant to be an impactful leader. You are meant to be a person who can sit down and say, despite my humble backgrounds from Winchi, by the grace of God and by dint of hard work, by the support of an enabling system created by your government, You've been able to thrive. And let's remember, the government is a leviathan. And by virtue of being a leviathan, the government is supposed to protect me. And part of that includes my economic well-being. This government has failed at that.
That's a strong statement that Mr. Laar has made. And so let's talk about the current state of the economy. I mean, you've made so many, assertions. You've made so many statements. You've made a lot of comments that, I think if the NDC were here, NPP were here, they would also have, a lot of rebuttals to some of the comments you have made. But aside that, let's just look at, the on the surface of it. We have currently, the dollar is around 15.75, I believe. I mean, if you are buying 15 points, a little higher. What is the way forward? I know that IMF came in to help. Is the IMF the solution? Because during your party's time, you also did go to IMF. Is that a solution? Is that a lasting solution?
I love Ghana. I love Ghana passionately. I want Ghana to do well. I want Ghana to regain her respect in the Committee of Nations. I want the days of Rawlings, the respect Ghana had in the sub-region, to be restored. I want Ghana to be seen as a major player in continental affairs. And this won't happen if we have a president whose governance of this country has yielded nothing but retrogression. The major way to fix this country is to fix the import-export imbalance. We cannot be an importing nation. Ghana cannot be an importing nation. We must learn to export. We must learn to engage. We spoke about diversity and all of that. That also includes going out. We know the whole concept of globalization.
Yes.
We cannot be local champions. There were times that Ghana was respected. That when you mention a name like John Mahama or President Rawlings or Kufuor, there was respect. There was respect.
What are you alluding to?
What I'm alluding to is the fact that Ghana has lost respect. Ghana has lost respect. Yes, Ghana has lost respect in the Committee of Nations. Don't you see that?
The reason being?
I mean, leadership is cause. Every other thing is effect.
So
let's deal with the import-export imbalance to ensure that Ghana is not, and also the business climate. You see, there's something that is government. There's the Exemptions Act, which was recently passed. I'm aware that, well, you may want to ask, but we have our sources. I'm aware that this government has given so many exemptions to certain businesses, such that they don't pay taxes. How can you run an economy like that? Where a business owned by your brother or your brother-in-law, that hotel at airport, which belongs to the brother-in-law of the president, they are given exemptions on the importation of materials and all of that by the president.
Which hotel is that?
Oh, there's this new hotel they are building. They haven't even named it yet, but it's going. They're building it.
And you are saying it belongs to the
I mean, we have our sources. I said his brother-in-law.
The president's brother-in-law.
Rebecca's brother. The first lady's brother.
We would investigate that.
Please do. But I think that basically, let's tighten all the loose ends.
So back to my question. My question is is IMF a solution?
IMF cannot be a solution, permanent solution, which is why the NDC thought that after the mess of President Kufuor, of course, he had his low moments, which necessitated the need for us to go back to the IMF one more time. We thought that was going to be the end. That's why President Mahama, Mills Mahama, took very tough decisions. Which people, you haven't heard of Techonomics. Techonomics. When Seth Tekwe was finance minister, that man was able to tighten all the loose ends, ensure that all the loose ends were tightened, ensure that we spent within budget. He took all the tough decisions to stabilize this economy. If what I'm saying is not true, you can tell me.
I mean, relatively,
that's a fact.
Yes, I mean, relatively.
That's what President Mahama did, and his finance minister.
Again, my people, they will tell you that you didn't have COVID. They will remind you that you didn't have COVID. So, and it was.
Yeah, but basically, the economy was steered back to life hoping that there would be a set, because you see, the NDC believes that it's Ghana. It's about Ghana. Oh.
It is
We
about Ghana.
repaired it, hoping that the MP will come and continue. But what did we do? Just 2 years into the line, they put us back into COVID. Because you look, there's a bloated wage bill.
But the COVID wasn't MPP's fault.
No, I'm not talking about COVID now.
Yes.
We've addressed the issue of
Yes.
COVID. Even with COVID, did we not get donor support?
Yes, we did.
Which was expended.
They showed us what they used the money for. They gave us.
No.
They told us what they used some of the money for.
But we know about the investigations reviews.
Yes.
Where we had party members in Tamale and other parts of the country arguing about and having fights over how much of the money they each should get. We are not aware of all of that.
No, we are. I mean,
so what they claim to have used it for, it's not what they used it for, because evidence is out now that rather than use COVID funds to help fix the economy and then do the most important things, they spent it on their parliamentary candidates.
What is your view of us still paying COVID levy?
I mean, it's most unfair. Most unfair. Another example of the thievery. I use that word without apology. The thievery of this government. Because COVID is long gone. That's another reason why we cannot even justify COVID as an excuse. Because for almost 4 years after COVID, you are still taxing your citizens. COVID levy. COVID levy, you are still taxing us.
So
and
are
yet
you saying
claim
that
COVID
if the
is the reason
NDC
why
were to
the
come
economy
into
has gone
power,
bad?
you would scrap the COVID levy?
The NDC's option on tax is there. I will not speak to that directly now because our campaign manifesto is yet to come out. I can speak to what the flag bearer himself has publicly pronounced.
But if you are so against the COVID levy, the assumption will be that when you do come into power,
of course, the NDC is against.
Yes,
the NDC
you would have to scrap it because you see, Ghanaians are tired of the notion of when you are out of power. We receive a lot of promises. We build lots of castles in the air. This will happen, that will happen, that would happen. We vote for these political parties. They come and they give us reasons why the previous government decided to take a certain decision. And so that is my concern. I believe the concern of the viewers as well, that we do not want it to be always a talk shop where we talk. We know that it is wrong. We know that it shouldn't be that way. When we are not in power, the moment we get the opportunity to be in power, we are so, quick to more or less speak to why the previous government made a certain decision and then stick to it. So now, for example, road tolls, we are not. I mean, it's not being paid anymore.
And they say they want to bring it back.
Yes, they still want to bring it, but they've not brought it back yet. So let's see how that goes. But the COVID levy, for example, and other taxes that, people have complained about. I don't know. Nobody knows how the elections will go. I know that you are aligned to your party, so you are very confident of the outcomes. But for us, the ordinary citizens, we do not know. We will just go and then vote, cast our votes, and see how the things turn out. But we really want there to be no talk shops anymore. We need to, like you rightly said, we need to steer the nation forward. We need to change the fortunes of this country. And we cannot do that by constantly making promises.
I agree with
you. Getting into power and then sticking to the previous government, mishappenings, and then just defend, go like, oh, the COVID levy is important because of that, and now even issues with the port. Now when you buy a car, for example, I bought my car in 2021 at a certain price. The price has almost doubled now. Same car.
Are you proud?
I'm not at all. I'm not.
Shame on the government.
I'm not. I mean, we are quick to blame.
Who else is to blame?
I understand, but my concern is that are there? If you do, I mean, I'm talking about. I mentioned that because if you may have the nod, you may. Nobody in 20. What would you do?
I'll answer that question.
Yes.
And I agree with you largely that the days of talk are over.
Yes.
This election is one between a man who has been president before.
Yes.
And a man who has not been president before.
Well, a man who has, let me qualify, a man who was president before and he was kicked out. Let me add that so that it becomes very clear. He was kicked out, but now he's coming back. And then there's one who has never been president before.
The fact of the matter is that this election is about a man who has been president before.
Okay.
And a man who has not been president before. This election is about a man who can be measured based on the credentials of his government, his period in government, against a man who has been vice president for 8 years.
Yes, almost 8 years, yeah.
I speak to things that are matters of fact. When I say President Mahama delivered on his mandate, I already stated all of the many promises he executed. So it's clear that President Mahama is not a man of only words. He's a man of action. When President Mahama said that he was going to ensure that the road access in this country was going to expand it, he delivered. When he said he would rebuild Kejetia, which is a business hub, he delivered. When he saw that healthcare was a major problem, he delivered. But for the intelligence, the wisdom the foresight of President Mahama to have built the UGMC. When COVID struck, all of the big men, where did they end up in? It's not the UGMC. Is it not the UGMC they ended up in? So it speaks to the fact that President Mahama is visionary. This is a man that has demonstrated that.
Vice President has told us that the Ghana card, he would take that over, hundreds of interchanges. He did mention that.
Let's be serious.
No, I mean, he's and he has
President
reasons.
Mahama is Vice President Baumia is the reason why today a cleaner can say that his Dutch passport is better than a PhD.
I mean, it's to blame
Vice President. The reason why. He's the reason why.
Because why do you say so? Why do you think is the reason why? I mean, the economy globally has been struck.
No,
so,
the man says
and he's an economic whiz kid, like we all know. That's what we say. That's what he says, and that's what these people say.
Let me laugh.
And I think that for them, what they say is that if the NDC was in power during COVID, would have even the dollar would probably be 50 cedis or more. We would have been worse for. That's what they say. And I mean, it's still talk. It is an assumption.
Why would you just?
It's an assumption.
Why wouldn't you let? What I've stated so far is that the NDC can be assessed based on the metrics. Look at the Human Development Index during the NDC time and measure it against what it is today. Ghanaians are worse off. What has your spending power now?
Exactly.
Can you buy a car today?
No.
You cannot. How much is in your bank account?
I would rather not say.
The legal vacation is coming. Can you go on a vacation to the Maldives or to the Philippines? Can you go to Dubai? Can you go to the Bahamas to enjoy for 1 month?
We probably couldn't have gone even joined NDC.
You are not a lawyer
we are hoping that.
But those days, if you were a lawyer, you could have been able to. Today, clients don't have as much money.
No,
businesses don't have as much money.
The country does not have as much
businesses
money.
are folding up. So if the country does not have enough money, despite receiving so much in revenue, the highest ever in the history of this country, and you still tell us that the country has no money, it speaks to the incompetence of those in government.
Rightly said. I mean, that is
President Mahama means his word. I must emphasize this.
Yes.
There's a track record. But for his insight, in fact, there's something called ESLA, Energy Sector Levy, which President Mahama created. Today, they have come and depleted ESLA. There was something called the sinking fund, which is another example of foresight. President Mahama said, why don't we put aside some money to be available just in case the economy is in distress? We can use that money to support. Sinking fund. Today, they have depleted it.
I mean, your points are very valid, but I think that if we had an MPP person, you would have had a more. We would invite you again to.
If an MPP person is here, I wonder the person may just have to resort to lies. Otherwise, what I'm saying are statements of fact that a sinking fund has been depleted.
I mean,
and that was the foresight of President Mahama that it was created.
Yes.
That there was the energy sector levy, which was instituted. That the UGMC and several other hospitals were built, which is the reason why, in fact, it is their South Africa in Ghana. It is their London in Ghana. It is their France and Germany in Ghana. For those who cannot go abroad, this is UGMC they go to. And let me say one thing. You spoke about the COVID levy and the issue of excessive taxes. The NDC's position on nuisance taxes is very clear. We think that we should not burden the youth of this country with excess, in fact, not only the youth, the people of this country with excessive taxation. You know the NDC's position on e-levy.
Yes, we know.
You remember?
Yes.
Our position on e-levy, but yet the government inflicted, I use the word inflicted,
and
on the people of this country.
E-levy still exists.
E-levy.
So, and COVID levy, all these levies are still in existence.
Nuisance taxes.
Yes. And hopefully, not hopefully, I mean, December we would vote. We will see how it goes. And if you have the opportunity to come into power, we are hoping that since you have stated, severally within this conversation that there are nuisance taxes, you do not see, the relevance of them, and that this government has, had the most monies, even from Nkrumah and all of that. We are hoping as Ghanaians, because we are all Ghanaians, and we if the economy is good, it's good for us. Yeah. I mean, the people at the top may not even necessarily feel what the people at the bottom are feeling. So I think that for us, our concern is that we like the fact that you bring out these concerns, these issues, these points about how the economy has been run, how certain taxes have been inflicted on us. And what I would want to know is, these news, you have a certain policy about news. What is that exactly? Because, I think Ghanaians are getting tired of the stories. Not just from, for politicians in total, not just certain political parties. We know what is wrong. We say it. We chastise the government of the day, that they are doing this and that and that. This is wrong. That is that. If corruption, all of these things. But what are we going to do differently?
Let me speak directly to the youth. Is this camera on? Yes. Let me speak directly to the youth of this country. That the Kenyan youth have given us an example of what it means to rise up against an unjust law. Saint Augustine, I believe you went to St. Augustine's secondary school.
Yes.
Saint Augustine.
College. I mean, Cape Coast.
Saint Augustine once said, an unjust law is no law at all.
I agree.
If you inflict on the people of this country nuisance, many taxes, we have a right to rebel against it. And that's why I salute the youth of Kenya for rising up. No doubt, I admire President Ruto. I admire his politics. I think he's a master tactician. I follow the politics of Kenya very well. But on this finance bill that President Ruto wants to inflict on the people of Kenya, I stand with the protesters. I stand with the youth of Kenya who are rising up against that. And I think that the Ghanaian people must learn from the example of Kenya. That President Akufo-Addo and his government have inflicted on us 40 new taxes. 40! Since they came into government. 40! So aside the revenue we are getting, aside all the loans they have gone to take, aside all of that, they are taxing us 40 different ways. If you give me a bit of time, I'll just open a car. We got a car. We got a car just the other day. Just give me a minute. I can read the taxes out to you.
No problem. Go ahead.
Just a second. So that way you can practicalize it and understand how much we are suffering in this country. A car, it will come right now. Just a second.
So my concern is that, I mean, all these points you raised are very, very solid points. But at the end of the day, the Ghanaian people are who matter the most. And our concern is that when you do have the opportunity, your party, are you going to scrap all these ones that you are about, all these taxes, all these 40 new taxes?
The position of the NDC is that nuisance taxes will be taken off.
Okay.
Now, this is a car that was bought. I can show it to the camera if you want. Now, they say there's import duty, 19,759 cedis. Import duty.
Import duty alone.
Special import levy, 2%, 3,951. Ghana export import bank levy, that's Exim bank levy, 1,481. Import VAT, 34,559. Network charge, 729. Ghana Shippers Authority fee, 9 cedis. Ministry of Trade and Industry fee, 5 cedis. Ghana Health Service Disinfection fee, 143. Network charge, Get Fund levy, 18 cedis. Network charge, National Health Insurance, another 18 cedis. COVID-19 Health Recovery levy, 2,179. Network charge, 1,975. ECOWAS levy, 989. African Union import levy, 395. NHIL import levy, 5,433. Network charge VAT, 114 cedis. Ghana Education Trust Fund charge, 5,433. One car you are importing. Look at the various amounts of money you have to pay in taxes.
So out of these taxes you've mentioned, which one would you consider as nuisance tax?
I'm saying, it's important. I cannot move before the horse.
Okay.
I belong to a political party. The manifesto of the NDC is yet to come out. But I can tell you that in general, the President Mahama has stated that nuisance taxes will be scrapped. We will not burden the Ghanaian people with nuisance taxes.
And I would like to know your definition of a nuisance tax.
I mean, taxes that are inimical to the growth and prosperity of the people of this country is nuisance.
So
it's nuisance.
Then who decides what is nuisance and what is not? Who decides?
Our Leviathan. Because our shared prosperity is in the hands of the Leviathan, which is the government. We are in the hands of the government.
And our government currently believes that these are not nuisance taxes. You said it is it is up to them to do that. Yes.
It is up to them as Leviathan.
Yes.
In Kenya, is it not the case that President Ruto is supposed to, in his estimation of leadership, steer the affairs of Kenya on the path of prosperity for the people of Kenya?
Exactly.
When he initiated his finance levy, what the people of Ghana, they said that, oh, we know we are the one we gave the power to, but we are rebelling against you. That's why I spoke to the youth of this country directly. That's why I'm saying that we must rise up against this government. We cannot look, other 30-year-olds in other parts of the world are thriving because there's an enabling environment created by their governments. Other 20-year-olds at Silicon Valley and other parts of the world are able to work in ways that generate millions, if not billions. Can the same be said about us in a country where even the environment for business is so inimical? If today you needed a loan, let's say you want to set up a law firm, you don't have all of the money to set up an office. You need a loan of say 100,000. You know how much you'd pay as interest rate? Over 35% in interest rate. The money will even further devalue. They end up paying more as the time goes by. That's how much it affects you as an individual.
Yes, it affects all of us. I mean, eventually, and the conversation, like I said, should be more around the solutions. I would like us for us to have conversation about solutions.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think you've mentioned a few of them.
Yes.
Things that you think we should do. You know, the imports, exports imbalance, and all of that. But let's zoom into the exchange rates currently. Is there hope?
I'll answer this question in a two-pronged manner. There's hope when we are able to elect a man who means what he says and says what he means. I believe that when President Mahama is elected, he will work effectively to improve the standing of the cedi against the dollar.
So you are very confident that
I am absolutely
very
confident
that where we are with the
absolutely
the cedi
confident
and the dollar now,
absolutely.
if NDC were to be in power, maybe December,
absolutely confident.
you would be able to bring it down.
I am confident that the leadership of Mahama.
We will hold you to it because a lot of us are very interested in that.
I am very confident that President Mahama's leadership will be able to stabilize the dollar and the cedi.
But is it just him, or you have, proper plans, actual things you can do? You mentioned import exports, but is that the only thing that you think you can do to make sure that the dollar, or the cedi appreciates against dollar? Because for now, things are going down. Everything is going down the drain.
Yeah. It's also about confidence in the system. Investors are not even coming. Like I said, investors, foreign multinational companies are leaving Ghana because the business climate is bad for them. President Mahama will create an enabling business climate where it will be profitable to do business in Ghana, where interest rates will not be this high, where the dollar rate is checked, where the inflation rate is worked on, where stability. Right now, people even fear insecurity in Ghana. Insecurity. Look at the menace of Galamsey and its consequent factors on several aspects of our body.
What is your position on Galamsey since you brought it up? Your party's position on Galamsey?
The NDC is saying that we must license people to mine. The goal is for us.
Are you saying that people are not the people within this current administration, the miners don't have licenses?
Because there are several examples. There are several examples of ministers of state and all who are mining illegally. You don't remember the example of Akunta mining? Akunta mining.
I believe
mining in a forest reserve. The point is that President Mahama believes in stern leadership. If there's anyone,
is Akunta mining not licensed?
No, I'll get back to that. If there's anyone who would look a problem in the face and say you are a problem, that is President Mahama, because he's the one that can look at you intend to steal $1 million or to have $1 million from politics. Intention. No, you can't work with me. Step aside. That's what President Mahama did. Something happened in Winneba a few days ago, and I'm just using that to demonstrate a point. In Winneba, a patient in one hospital was allegedly dumped off along the road somewhere. I think the person died also.
Yes, I think, yes.
And what did the health ministry do, or the Ghana Health Service do? They asked the medical director of that particular hospital to step aside, pending investigation. Is that not the right procedure?
Yes.
That is the right procedure. Why is the president of Ghana, why is the vice president of Ghana not doing the same? In the current example of Brian Champong, why won't you say, Brian Champong, your name is all over the place about this. Step aside, let's investigate to see the veracity or otherwise of this. If there's something adverse against you, I'll fire you. If I find you good enough, I'll bring you back. Several examples of ministers of state.
Brian Champong's case to be, we are going ahead of ourselves. He's not Rock City. So I would like for us to separate him. If we think that he played a role in getting access to this deal, then I think as it stands now, we know that Rock City is an entity on its own. Brian Champong is a man.
Brian Champong has been reported. There's a petition against him at Shraj. Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice. Is that not basis for the president to say Shraj is investigating you on issues of corruption? Hold on. Issues of corruption. There's also the express admission of Brandon Champon that the parliamentary requirement for him to seek permission from the speaker to engage in business of profit was not done. Clear violation of the law. Every member of parliament is obligated, even us as lawyers, if I ever happen to be in parliament, people like AUDIOMACK, who is also a practicing lawyer, even though he's a parliament, had to seek the express permission of the speaker to be able to do his other business of a lawyer. So any parliamentarian who does any other thing aside the business of parliament has to get the express permission of the speaker. This did not happen in the case of Brandon Champon.
So
it did not happen.
He's a non-
and he admitted it.
As non-executive director. Means he's doing nothing.
There's a pending petition at Shraj.
So once it's
and
pending,
I think that
let's
the president,
wait for the
in the spirit of Winneba, should have asked Brandon Champon, step aside, let the investigations be over.
I think that if
you
that it's pending, let us see. Maybe he's so integral to the president's business that he would want, and he finds no reason why.
He's so integral to the president's business.
Yes, as president, because the president is more or less the CEO of Ghana, so to speak.
So he's. I get the point.
Yes.
You see, if there's an issue against the business of an individual, it has to do with the business of that individual and not the entire machinery of government or not the entire MPP. Ask yourself, read in between the lines, why has the entire government machinery, communication machinery, why have they been unleashed to defend Brandon Champon's purchase?
It is not Brandon Champon, it is Rock City's purchase.
Why have they been unleashed?
Supposedly,
it's a company.
Because I think
why have they been unleashed?
I understand what you're
saying.
But what
everyone all over the place.
The point is that we are trying to bring Brandon Champon inside the Rock City business, so it will be their duty. And he's a high-ranking member of the party, so I think that is only right that I think he will do the same.
Is Brandon Champon not a beneficial owner of whatever happens at Rock City?
He says a non-executive director.
No, I'm asking you. If you owned Rock City, are you a beneficial owner of Rock City?
Of course you are if you own Rock City.
That is the basis of our protest.
Because
he's a beneficial owner.
Okay.
Whatever happens, the good that comes of he is going to benefit. So you can't, just like Enterprise, what Ken Oforiatta is doing. He claims that, he's not in charge of the management of Enterprise. Meanwhile, every juicy insurance contract in this country goes to Enterprise at the peril of the state insurance company. So the Ghana government has its own insurance company. Rather than do business with your own company and generate more money for the government, you have transferred all juicy insurance deals to a private insurance company. And you tell us that Ken Oforiatta is different from Enterprise. So they should allow Enterprise to continue. Forgetting that Ken is a beneficial.
Well, he is.
He benefits from the profits of Enterprise.
But he's still a different entity from.
Oh, that's the point I'm making.
Yes, he's still a different entity from Enterprise Life. Mr. Laar, I think the conversation is becoming more interesting as the time passes. I know that you are aware of the Global Fund medication that has been at the ports for a while now. What does that even mean? How is it that we are unable to clear something that is so important to sick people? What are the issues? I mean, I know you're not in government, but you should have an idea. What are some of the issues that is plaguing our ports right now? You mentioned, I think earlier, the taxes, all that you have to pay. Is this the same for the government? Because I believe this global fund was for the government. It's for the government to clear and then give to the hospital. So For
the record, this is the first time ever, and this is something that the Global Fund themselves have said, the first time ever that the Global Fund has donated for free to any country medication. And those medications have been left unattended at the port for over 1 year. Not Somalia, not South Sudan, not Djibouti, not some of the very poor countries in the world, but Ghana. Countries that are even cast down as very poor. When the Global Fund sends medication to them, they're able to clear them from the ports. So you see, when I say that Ghana, we've lost respect, you think I'm joking. This is an example. Because the Global Fund has even threatened that, hey, Ghana government, if you leave the medicines there, then we'll not bring medication again. No. And for the record, these are medications for HIV/AIDS patients.
True.
For people with tuberculosis, for malaria. And let me speak about malaria. I come from the north, and when growing up, malaria was a very common disease for us as children. Children get malaria every now and then. And today, we have donation of medicines for malaria, and the government has left those medicines at the port unattended. I keep making the point that whenever you buy any bottle or pack of medicine, you would see written on it, store in a cool, dry place.
Mm-hmm.
You've left medicines in the port, in this humid weather, uncontrolled temperature at the port. Are those medicines still strong enough or good enough or viable enough? You know, on the issue of tuberculosis, the medication is supposed to be, they call it DOT, directly observed therapy or treatment, whichever it is. You get the point? So if someone has tuberculosis and the medication is supposed to be directly observed, they give a particular number and they monitor you in the taking of the medicine. There's supposed to be another dose of it. Now the dose is stuck at the pot. What do you think will happen to those that have tuberculosis? Won't they infect other people, knowing that tuberculosis is a disease that is easily communicable? On the issue of HIV medication, you know that if you do not take the medications consistently, your body will build a resistance against it and the medicine will not work again. In fact, it happens with other medications, even antibiotics.
I mean, adherence is very important when it comes to
today,
medications
HIV/AIDS
and HIV,
patients in this
that,
country
yes.
have had to protest knowing that their lives is in danger. Their lives are in danger. So I'm just so disgusted about this, that something as simple as clearing goods which have been given to you for free from the port, even that you cannot do. Does not speak to the incompetence of this government. I heard the health minister say, oh, he's going to ensure that in 2 weeks the goods are cleared. Yes. Otherwise, he will go and sleep at the port himself. And I'm like, does the man not understand the power?
But there's been issues on social media about ownership of the port. So I think that's also
what does ownership of the port have to do?
I mean,
it's on record that this president, in the last 7 years, has imported vehicles for his use and the use of his ministers in excess of $47 million. In excess of $47 million, they have bought vehicles for themselves. And when those vehicles got to Temahabo, they were cleared at no cost to the Republic of Ghana for free. They did not pay duty. So if the president could do that for vehicles they import for themselves and his wife, his ministers, if they could do that, how much more something as important as medication for the mass of our people, for children with malaria, for people with tuberculosis, and people with HIV/AIDS. Remember, there's the Exemptions Act of passed by the Parliament of Ghana. And this law allows the president to exempt the payment of duties and taxes on the importation of some things into the country. So the president can do that for vehicles he's importing for his office and himself and his ministers. So you believe
the president can easily?
He can do that. And what we now know is that what is bound is that they have to pay for demurrage and rent for the containers, and also AU and ECOWAS levies. And this is like about 7 million. This is about 7 million Ghana cedis. 7 million Ghana cedis that the Ghana government the Ghana government cannot pay for these goods. That it will take 2 weeks. That the health minister is even threatening that he'll go and sleep at the port if the goods are not cleared.
That shows how serious he is.
No, that shows how inefficient the government is. Because I keep making the point that if you gave this responsibility of clearing goods to any junior high school SP, he will do it well. He will deliver well, perfectly.
Right, noted. And I think that this is of major concern to everyone, especially when it comes to health. Health is wealth, like they say, and it's the healthier the population, the better chances of actually even acquiring wealth and propelling the country forward. So I agree that it's a very concerning situation that has happened. But I mean, the health minister has given us 2 weeks ultimatum. I believe that by the end of that, we would have the medication.
2 weeks, but the medication have been at the port for over 1 year. Over 1 year.
I mean, that's rather unfair, but that is what he's saying.
I think that they should check those medications to be sure they are still viable.
I mean, we have a lot of health care professionals
our citizens
within the nation who would ensure that it's safe for consumption. Yes, people.
Yes, but not
in the health sector.
Not
so we would I think that will be done. Moving away from that, there's I think the port issue now is of major concern. I think I mentioned earlier the cost of vehicles, and a lot of people are unable to pay for duties. So their cars, you don't get access to some of the things they bring in. Their cars, have to be impounded and then, auctioned off eventually because they couldn't afford to pay for the duties. That is not a recent practice, I believe. That has always been the practice, if I'm right. So there are concerns. If you, for example, in the future, you get the opportunity, your party gets the opportunity to be in power, what are we going to do to ensure that this problem is resolved? Because it is unfair that I purchase a vehicle from Europe or America, bring it in, and because of my inability to pay for very high duties, I get to lose the car.
Okay, so it speaks to the issue of nuisance taxes that I spoke about. The NDC's position is clear. The root cause of this, why people cannot clear their vehicle, is because the duties are too expensive.
Yes, very
So
high.
the NDC, as a matter of fact, will reduce duties at the ports. President Mahama has promised that. We'll reduce duties. So if duties are even affordable, that's when people can pay and clear their goods. They will not even be occasioned with the difficult situation of having to lose their cars because they can't pay duty. The reason why people lose their cars, they can't pay duty. The mortgage comes in, they can't pay, and the state takes it. So our promise as a political party is that the issue of duties at the ports, expensive duties, will be looked at. So if tomorrow you are importing into this country, say, a Toyota Prado into this country, duty should be affordable that you would pay. In Togo, they don't pay duty.
Yes.
In Nigeria, port duties are cheaper. In Kenya, port duties are cheaper. In fact, Ghana's port duties are the highest in Africa. In South Africa, in Cape Town, port duties are cheap, relatively. So why is it the case that in Ghana, you are taxing your people to inability and to death? That's what's happening in Ghana. So then this is saying that we will reduce the taxes significantly.
That's a promise, I believe.
Well, President Mahama said that.
That's a promise. We would hold you to that. I think, like I've consistently mentioned, we would hold politicians to the things they say moving forward because it's about time. And I think it's about time politicians understood that they are our servants.
Servants, yeah.
And whatever comes to them is because of what we give. Our taxes and all of those are what we use to, pay their salaries, where they live, all of those things. And they are supposed to serve the nation. And going first, what this even platform seeks to do, that we would call our politicians. If you make a statement, whether you are MPP or NDC, we would want you to, we would hold you to it. And we will ask questions. You said you do this, you said you do that. What is the way forward? And we'll make it known to the general populace that this is what this man said, or that is what that woman said. But when they came, they just, forgot about all of that. So we are grateful, Mr. Laar, for coming. We hope to have conversations with you over and over again about some of these topics. It's been interesting getting to know you. Your journey is I think would encourage a lot of young people. From your own area, I don't know how things are there now, but people seeing you, telling us your life history, where you started from, where you are now, would encourage a lot of young people who may not have had certain privileges to also know that it's possible. You have done it and you continue to do it. Thank you very much for coming, Mr. Laar. And then we would hope to, get you.
It's been my absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.